How do you do? This is Daniel Alpine, animation historian. Welcome to a new episode of Animation Memory Lane. A topic that I saw was interesting when I was a kid was the multiple projects that Walt Disney himself attempted to get off the ground, but never happened until after his death in 1966. One of his abandoned concepts was to do a sort of continuation of his third feature film, Fantasia. What his initial vision was to re-release the film each year, but with new pieces replacing the ones before it. But because the film was not successful at the box office during its initial release, and because of World War II, this idea was scrapped. But Walt did continue his idea of matching music and visuals. In the late 1990s, the studio attempted a new Fantasia film that was called Musicana. It was to be more about world music and sort of contemporary in contrast to the classical music focus in the first film. But while this idea did have potential, still the executives at that time didn't see that it had any commercial value, and it was also shelved. But one person that still thought a new Fantasia should happen was Walt Disney's nephew, Roy E. Disney. In 1991, Fantasia was released on videocassette for the first time, and it sold a lot of copies. It proved to Roy that perhaps there was still interest in the franchise, and perhaps a new Fantasia was at last possible. That year, he pitched the idea to Michael Eisner, and while Jeffrey Katzenberg was not interested in this, Michael still allowed Roy to continue with his pet project. First thing that was needed was a composer to conduct the music for this. After considering others, what was decided was to select Metropolitan Opera conductor James Levine. While the film started production in 1991, the production lasted until, well, toward the end of the 1990s, and it also lived through a couple of name changes. When production started, it was first titled Fantasia Continued. After that, it was titled Fantasia 1997, before it was pushed back and Hercules took that spot. Then it was considered Fantasia 1999, but once its release schedule was selected, its final title was Fantasia 2000. The film's release was a little scattered. It was first presented as a touring concert piece that toured 5 selected cities, and what it was that the film itself was screened on a movie projector, but the music that was featured in it was performed in a live orchestra that Levine conducted. The first theatrical release of Fantasia 2000 was on January 1st of 2000. And this was, well, a new revolutionary release because from January 1st until April of 2000, the film was released exclusively in IMAX theaters, which in that it was the first Hollywood feature to be released in that format and also the first animated film to be released in IMAX theaters. After its IMAX run, It was released in general cinemas on June 16th of 2000. Unfortunately, the film did not do well at the box office. It didn't really recoup its budget. When I was a kid, I didn't really remember a lot of marketing for the film. All I could remember was this one piece that Disney Channel did, but nothing else until its video released later. The film was mostly well received, but certain critics called it a watered down version of the first film. While certain parts were praised, people considered the overall film uneven. In my opinion, I think that the film is very good. Part of it is because it does come close to matching the first film, and it does do well to stand up on its own. In particular, since each of the pieces were done in a different artistic style that reflected the directors of each one. The one part that people seemed a little, well, uneasy about are the interstitials, which, in contrast to the first Fantasia, which included one Master of Ceremonies, Deems Taylor, Fantasia 2000 included different celebrities introducing each of the pieces, a few of which had an established Disney past, which included Steve Martin and James Earl Jones and Angela Lansbury. People think that these interstitials were a little, what's the word? Sort of over the top and not sophisticated. Well, I don't mind because at least it tried to be different. Still, in 2002, Roy E. Disney did try to start production on a third Fantasia that was called Fantasia 2006, or according to Don Hahn, Fantasia World. Unfortunately, this was soon shelved, and it's thought it was because Treasure Planet bombed in 2002. But at least four of the initial concepts were released as individual shorts, which included Lorenzo, Destino, One by One, and Little Match Girl. If you ask me, I think that a new Fantasia now would be possible. That is, if current Disney is willing to allow that. And it will be excellent to still be a tribute to Walt and Roy Disney. But we'll see. We'll see. Well, that's all for now, and I'll be seeing you.